The Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations says it will soon present a draft policy on occupational safety to Cabinet. The Sector Minister Nyama Ashite says the comprehensive policy will address the prevention of occupational accidents. He disclosed this at the opening of a 3-day conference on health, environment and safety in Accra.
Currently, laws on work-related hazards and its management are fragmented and dormant, as relevant institutions are too weak to enforce them. This is what the new policy seeks to enhance by incorporating the various legislations into a single, more effective set of rules that will ensure safety and well-being of employees, as well as persons affected by the operations of these industries.
Virtually all the laws that we have with regard to the health and safety of workers are very old laws, and therefore something has to be done about them. We would need to look at the regulations and all that, that goes to support the Parent Act. So in that vein, then we can put all those laws together, you consolidate it, and also strengthen the institutions, that will enforce those laws and rules and regulations.
Organizers are hoping to improve the living standards of citizens by promoting capacity building and investment in areas such as water, energy, health and workplace safety.
When you bring technology into the market and we are able to produce, and create opportunities, then we are creating a job setup. Now, poverty is basically lack of opportunities. That's what poverty is all about. So in this conference, it's a public-private partnership arrangement. So we are bringing people together to share knowledge, and knowledge is wealth, Good. Share knowledge and build capacity from the angle of finance, technology, human resource development, etc., that area.
To help supplement water supply, the group is looking to introduce a water harvesting technology in the country. According to the South African manufacturers, the machine harvests water from the atmosphere and then purifies it without chemicals. In the course of the dialogue, some local government authorities will be honored for their efforts in improving the lives of their constituents.
Government says it has started a fish testing process along coastlines in the country. Speaking at the inaugural ceremony of a new marine species, the outgoing Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture, Nayong Bilijo, criticized a recent publication by the Daily Graphic that DDT is being used for fishing, saying that the publication is not a true reflection of the current situation. There is more in this report by Gifty Andwapia.
The report by the Daily Graphic said fishermen in the Lower Axim district of the Western region are using DDT, carbide, dynamite and light for fishing. According to the report, most of the fish brought ashore are usually dead and discolored with broken flesh and sunken eyes, adding that there are fears the practice may be widespread along the coast. But the Fisheries Minister Nayong Bilijo is of the view the paper got it wrong, although he adds the ministry is taking actions on the allegations.
I wish to reiterate my stand that the recent alarmist headline of the Monday, 2nd June 2014 Daily Graphic publication, Danger, was a rehash of the situation that existed before June 2014, and that publication is not a true reflection of the current situation on the ground. But to allow the fears of the general public, to allay the fears of the general public, the ministry has decided to send the health team to all landing sites along the coast to collect samples of fish landed for testing.
He said various interventions were made by the ministry to ensure healthy fishing practices.
The incidents of IUU fishing during the 3 years leading to 2013, that is 2010, 11 and 12, have resulted in action being taken by various EU countries to block the entry into their countries of large consignments of processed raw tuna products from Ghana. The Fisheries Enforcement Unit was established to patrol our coastal waters to enforce fisheries laws, regulations, and to arrest offenders. A fish health unit was established at the Fisheries Commission, and a number of educational forums were organized to educate our fisher folks on the hazards of fishing with chemicals and light. The ministry also procured chemical meters that is used to conduct random sampling and testing of fish, fresh fish landed, as well as processed smoked fish for the presence of chemicals.
Nayom Bilijo claims the EU, United States, and the International Commission for Conservation of Atlantic Tunas, which had intentions of blocking Ghana's fish from their market, are likely to have a change of mind as a result of the interventions.
This would have led to serious repercussions on the fishing industry locally, with massive layoffs of the workforce. The EU actually issued a yellow card to Ghana and threatened to follow up with a red card unless Ghana took adequate steps to address the administrative and legislative gaps that allowed for the occurrence of IUU fishing. The ministry thus had no choice but to engage the EU in a dialogue process that lasted most part of 2013 and until May 2014. The EU recently, in the last dialogue in May, indicated its satisfaction of progress and commitment on the part of Ghana to address the incidence of IUU fishing.
Nayom Bilijo added the ministry is now focusing on aquaculture development.
In this direction, we have developed the Nucleus Ad-Grower Farm Enterprise for fish farming. This will be piloted on the Water Lake with 2 nucleus farms, each having 13 ad-grower farms attached. The Water Lake pilot will be for cage culture. We will also pilot the scheme in the Ashanti and Brown Ahaf regions for pond culture, while the northern sector will pilot hatchery development for the production of fingerlings and stocking of water bodies and ponds.
The minister is, however, to be replaced by his colleague from the Health Ministry in the latest reshuffle. Gifty Andopia, Joy News, Adan, Volta region.
There's more danger for about 5,000 residents living in communities downstream from the Wager Dam, which got flooded Tuesday. Officials from National Security had to move in to clear channels at the estuary at Chokome, at Botiano here in Accra, to allow free flow of water that had been spilled from the dam. City authorities, however, say residents affected by the floods would still have to move because the Ghana Water Company may be forced to spill more water if the dam is to be saved. NADMO officials from the presidency, the Ghana Water Company and the Greater Accra Regional Minister have been touring the flooded communities. Beatrice Edu was on that tour and she joins me in the studio now. Good evening to you, Beatrice. So what were your observations on this tour?
Okay, I was on a helicopter, so I saw the aerial view to see, the extent of damage of this flooding, and it was quite serious. You could see that a number of houses, hundreds of them, had been submerged. Some of them were completed, others were not, and some of them had actually tilted, like they were falling. So this is how serious the situation is in these communities around the Wager Dam.
Now, the traditional authorities were said to be resisting attempts to clear, the blockade at the estuary at Chokome, but we're told that National Security had to move in.
Yes, indeed. I'm sure you're aware that the Densu River, the estuary, is at Chokome. So every time that there's so much rain and they need to spill water from the dam, they need to clear that estuary because a lot of the time there's a heap of sand blocking the estuary. So that was what they had to do. But the traditional leaders were insisting that they perform some rituals. So they couldn't go into to do this without performing these rituals. But we were told at the site today that national security officials moved in at dawn today to clear the estuary to let the water flow. Okay.
And you were on the tour with the Greater Accra Regional Minister. What has he been saying about it?
Indeed, he's saying that the situation will not get any better because there are more rains coming in, because the Meteo department is predicting more rains, and in order to save the dam, they will have to spill the water as soon as they get the rains in, so the people will have to evacuate.
So everything, the rain is still coming, the dam is still becoming full. What I even saw yesterday is not what we saw this afternoon. It has come up a little bit. And looking at the volume of water that is gushing out, we advise that people living along the stretch should start leaving, because you can clearly see that with impunity and out of ignorance, people have constructed mansions on a waterway. And I can assure you, and I can tell you boldly, that I don't believe that they have building permits for the structures that they have over there, that we saw on the ground. So, my brothers and sisters, this is the advice, and this is where we are as a nation. People must always listen to advice. We have our local laws and then our assembly bylaws and all that. But the law of the land supersedes everybody's law. Those who are built on waterway, moving in now to go and demolish would be a problem. They themselves will leave where they are. You saw everything with yourselves, by yourselves, when we went in. That is why we engaged early to go with us, so that when you come out.
But advice, somebody can choose to take it or not. And then, even if they should leave now because the rains are there, they could come back later after everything has subsided. Waterlogged.
When the ground gets dried up, and we'll have to move in to go and get some demolition exercise done, we'll not hesitate in doing it.
Now, the NADMO boss was also on the tour. What has been the general preparedness of the organization as the rains continue to pour?
Well, Mr. Potofi admits that NADMO is challenged logistically, financially. However, he's saying that NADMO goes to national security and other agencies that come in to help whenever there's emergency. So they go to them for logistics and whatever support that they need to get to be able to handle emergencies. So we can watch him now, what he told us.
That we are dealing with. So as it is impacting on them, we have safe havens where we will relocate them so that they don't have any dangers at all. And we have a number of our men and women, volunteers in the communities, who are also helping us. As for in terms of relief, the biggest relief we had last night at dawn was the dredging we did on the Desu estuary. If we hadn't done that, I'm saying about half of that Gansoma should be underwater now.
You're talking about Accra, I'm talking about other parts of the country.
Yes.
Meteo Service is or department is predicting more rains.
In other parts of the country.
Emergency plan.
In the other parts of the country, we are equally undertaking these activities. In the other parts of the country, throughout the country, we are saying that for us in this country today, the people who will be seriously impacted upon about 1 million throughout the country. Because we know the numbers, we have teams that are in daily contact with them. That's what I'm saying.
It's interesting you say this because the first day it rained heavily, almost the whole day.
Yes.
Myself, Joy FM, and people called your numbers, your emergency numbers, including your numbers. They were all off, and there was no.
Because we were in the rain. Because we were in the rain. We don't have the large numbers. We have teams supported by the National Security, Human Security Department, supported also by the 48th Engineers Regiment. And we have, our equipment are limited. Our pumping machines are limited. We were concentrating, Malam Junction, we were concentrating on Glefe and the rest. So if you were somewhere that is threatened, as it happened generally, we might be challenged largely. But we were in the flashpoints that we have identified, the areas that were crucial to survival of our people. We were there.
You had National NADMO Coordinator Kofi Potofi speaking there to Beatrice Edu. The Volta River Authority has launched 2 books about the Volta Lake. It says should promote the enormous tourism potential of the national asset. The Lake of Life and the Field Guide to the Volta River Basin celebrates 50 years of the VRA and its contributions to the economy of Ghana. Former Chief Executive Kuku Aoche asked government to take advantage and explore the area's potential.
The former chief executive, during whose tenure the books were commissioned, highlighted the tourism potential of the lake.
And as I said in my short speech, you'll see it's such a beautiful place. What we need to do is combine the ability to bring private operators to come and bring their vessels on the lake so that they can have trips, and also create avenues for environmental awareness and those kinds of things to bring people around. The lake is a very long lake. There's so many areas people could go. There's so many game parks. that are accessible when you get on the lake. And these are the kinds of things we could do.
Author of The Lake of Life, former chairman of the Center for Scientific and Industrial Research, Professor Edward Ayensu, captured in the 115-page book the achievements of the VRA since it was set up.
That if you don't read anything at all in the book, just read the inaugural speech by Dr. Khalid Nkrumah, and it will tell you the whole story. I feel very honored, in a sense, to go into the British archives, and I found a lot of very interesting things.
The second book, Field Guide to the Volta River Basin, aims to attract students and tourists to the vegetation of the Volta Basin.
We're taking a break. We have more stories coming up. The Deputy Minister of Energy, John Jinapor, says government is considering other cheap sources of energy to ensure adequate supply of electricity for development. According to him, coal is one of the options on the table.
We cannot continue to spend 6 million every day buying only light crude oil to power our thermal plant. And so energy conservation is good for us, and all of us should embrace it. We are looking at all the options, and we believe that coal is a feasible option, but we must take into account the environmental issues and all the other impact analysis that ought to be considered. But countries have done that. They have had cheap source of energy, and we must also look at that option. And where we find it feasible and appropriate, I think that we should adopt it.
The Deputy Minister of Energy, John Jinapor, said government is considering coal and other cheap sources of energy with minimal or no environmental effect.
We have had interest from China, from Brazil, from India, and from other countries, and we have commenced engagement with them. We are studying their system, and if we find that suitable, I think that we should embrace it. Yeah. We believe that by the end of the year we should have gas flowing, and we are working around the clock. Indeed, the Energy Commission has given several licenses to solar companies to establish solar farms, and so we are making a headway. We'll keep that track.
He also said the gas would come on board by the end of the year to minimize load shedding.
So it's just a few hours to the opening ceremony of the Brazil 2014 in Rio. Now, this is what's happening right now. The Black Stars haven't gotten their dough. They moved from their camp base in Miami. They had to stop over in Washington. They're currently on their way to Brazil. They will be landing in Rio de Janeiro, and from then they'll move on to Maceió, their camp base, before they move on to play USA in Natal. So this is exactly what's happening with the Black Stars now. We're expecting them to get there in a few hours. So maybe, like I said, in 1 hour, we should be in Brazil. We're actually part of the final teams to get into Brazil for that one. How are the supporters feeling ahead of this one? The fans are really getting into this, and some have been talking to us about the fever. Let's hear.
Me, I believe in Ghana Black Stars. I believe they can beat it. I think the guys did well. The game was impressive, but you have to look at our goalkeeping department. Fatal didn't impress me, and the defensive setup too. There were hitches over there. So if you check those things, I think we can do well at the world stage.
Yeah, we will do well. We will do well because the players are determined. They are playing their hearts out. Yesterday, when you look at how the day was playing, he played to his best. That's why we were able to score more goals. So I believe in them. They're going to do well.
Yeah, sure. I trust them. I know how they can play. I know them very well, so they can impress us.
More fair, you understand. So as Ghanaians, we want to know what the coach is going to show us at the World Cup, because it's a serious football, serious coaching, and you need to do it that with all seriousness, determination, hard work before you can, cross the semi-finals.
We are all talking. You see, Ghanaian people were talking about his full squad. And yesterday he delivered his full squad, and we see the performance about the full squad. It's a good reflection, but we need more commitment from the boys at the world stage. And that's a different ball game. The Korean team were a little easier, but we have 12 guys in our team: Portugal, Germany, USA. So we need a little more commitment from them, and I think we can do better.
Is your team ready? Are they strong? That is the issue. Are they fit? Are they really ready? Is the coach that is going to work out his changes and so on? You understand? That is the issue now.
I believe they can do it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we will do well.
More fair.
All right, so definitely some fans are looking ahead to the World Cup in Brazil and talking about it's mixed feelings whether the Black Stars are going to do well or not there. In Brazil itself, there have been a lot of protests ahead of the World Cup, and indeed, most of them are planning to have some protests on the opening ceremony that is going to take place tomorrow. Let's have a look at what's been happening. Our correspondent, Aqua Harrison, is there. She's been speaking to some of them. Let's have a listen to that.
I think you're the best person to tell.
No, it's hard to say because we are not longer living here, but when I talk to my friends, the condition of the Brazilians is not good, and when it comes to the healthy transport, everything, because Brazilian people, they love football. They are so excited to have the World Cup here, but when it comes to the basics, the basic needs. Exactly, the basic needs, they are a bit upset. But I believe they are gonna, how can I say? Enjoy it? Yeah, definitely they will. Definitely they will.
Now, sports bars and viewing centres have grown in popularity in recent years, with football being the main passion. Sporting enthusiasts who enjoy the company of other fans would normally fill up such centres. And with the World Cup just a day away, they are bound to get very busy. Ridwan Karim Osman has been to a few sports bars and reports frantic preparations to host their patrons for next few weeks.
A walk into some sports bars in Accra and one is likely to see an array of flags of countries participating in this year's World Cup. Ceilings and walls of sports bars are decorated in the flags of participating World Cup teams, with a number of them acquiring brand new giant screens. Patrons can also expect to be treated to some good food.
We have our mains, starters, and when you come to the drinks, we have so many cocktails.
We have our specials. We try to make them enough as possible so everybody can have them quick. The yam chips, chicken wings, when you're drinking, you gotta have some bites. And they're crispy. I can tell you want to go for more. And then the happy hour cocktails as well. And then the beers. On the top, minis, the clubs, what have you, we've got a lot to offer. So before the time runs out, you can imagine how full you'll be with the drinks and food as well.
One other reason why the viewing centres will enjoy some good patronage is the power crisis. Managers are fully aware of this and have put measures in place to ensure the frequent power outages do not disrupt their operations.
Well, we've got Champs, we've got 4 large screens, 4 large projectors, 6 screens, we've got power backup, so we're not going to be affected by anything like that. We'll not even be affected by the weather within Champs, so we'll be set up and ready to go from 12 o'clock come Thursday, day of the World Cup.
The 2014 World Cup in Brazil starts on Thursday and will run until the final on July 13.
All right, so there's been one feature ahead of the World Cup because we're losing a number of stars, but it just looks like we'll get some of them in. Cristiano Ronaldo is fit, but before that, we get into Cristiano Ronaldo's story. Let's find out from Luis Torres, who looks to be racing against time to get fit.
I believe in Ghana Black Star.
All right, so certainly those of you who are expecting to see Cristiano Ronaldo out of the World Cup, well, you have to rethink it. The man was very, very energetic as he got into Brazil. He took his first few steps in Brazil. Ronaldo is looking very strong. There you can see him taking all the fans and all of that. He's definitely ready for this World Cup. He doesn't look injured at all. In the last friendly game before they went to this, they beat Ireland by 5-1 in New Jersey. This man played 65 minutes. Didn't look like anyone who was actually being cursed by a witch doctor or so in Ghana. So that is just for you to know. None of that happening. Ronaldo is ready for the World Cup, and he says that he's definitely gunning against Germany on the first day and is looking out for Ghana on the final day. He'll be very, very happy to score a goal, and like he said he will do on Facebook. I don't know if that's true. He says that if he scores the goal, the hand will be out That's what it says it's going to do. Interesting stuff out there. We just can't wait for the World Cup. I mean, just under 24 hours. We'll get big time into it tomorrow. That's all for sports tonight. I'm George Adi Jr. Israel will join us with some more. You have a good night.
Good evening and welcome to Business with me, Matilda Nyakwa Kweku. The Consumer Price Index has seen another marginal increase from 14.7% in April to 14.8% in May 2014. The main drivers, according to the Ghana Statistical Services, were increase in utilities, transport fares and housing prices. Government statistician Dr. Philomena Nyako said the depreciation of the cedi has also increased the cost of imported goods.
14 inflation rate is the highest since May 2010, with a monthly change of 0.9% compared to the 1.7% recorded in April 2014. The Greater Accra region recorded the highest regional year-on-year inflation rate of 16.1%, while the Upper West region recorded the lowest rate of 11.2%.
The food inflation rate for May 2014 was 8.0%. This is 1 percentage point higher than the 7% recorded for April 2014. For the non-food inflation rate, we have 20.0% recorded for May 2014 compared with 20.6% for April 2014. Now we look at the trend in inflation for the non-food inflation and the food inflation rates. We see that for the non-food inflation rate, and then in April 2014 it went to 20.6% and has dropped slightly to 20.0% in.
Government statistician Dr. Philomena Nyako said the year-on-year food inflation rate for May 2014 was 8.0%, a rise from the 7.0% recorded for April 2014. The year-on-year inflation rate of 8.0% is 2.5 times lower than the non-food inflation rate of 20.0%.
Greater Accra recorded the highest combined inflation rate of 16.1%, followed by the Eastern region with 15.9%. And we have the Upper West region recording the lowest combined inflation rate. When we look at the food inflation rate, we see that the Upper West region recorded the highest food inflation rate of 11.8%, followed by the Western region with 10.4%. When we come to the non-food inflation rate, we have the Central region recording the highest non-food inflation rate of 25.0%, followed by the Eastern region with 22.6%. Now, Upper West region recorded the lowest non-food inflation rate of 10.9%.
Dr. Philomena Nyako says the inflationary pressure seems to be.
We apologize for the poor sound quality. Now, government has settled on 19 major infrastructure projects it hopes to execute by joining hands with private businesses. 6 of these projects have been earmarked for this year, while the remainder will be executed next year. It forms part of government's plan to embark on an aggressive infrastructural development through the public-private partnership initiative.
Head of Public Sector Investment at the Ministry of Finance, Magdalena Pentin, said the project ranges from road, health, transport and sports.
We are using the PPP platform to ensure the private sector can come and assist by providing the necessary financing. An example of this project is the Wankrai Inland Port and the Eastern Railway Line project, which we now have a transaction advisor who is going to assist us in preparing the project. We are hopeful that very soon details of this project will come. There will be a roadshow to entice the private sector to show their interest, and then we move ahead, get a private sector sponsor to actually start the project. We have several projects in the pipeline. 6 of them are about being prepared by various transaction advisors. But then there are about 15 of them in the pipeline. We are preparing terms of reference to get transaction advisors. We are preparing requests for proposals from the various transaction advisors to assist us, to bring proposals to assist us in preparing these projects. So we have roads, we have transport, we have a health sector, we have the sports, the Ministry of Youth and Sports. And
speaking to Joy News at the launch of the first Global Public-Private Partnership Conference to be held in Ghana in August, she said PPP would enhance efficiency in execution and maintenance of the infrastructure.
The PPP law, as I've said already, involved a lot of stakeholders, both in the private sector and the public sector. From the year 2012, we've been having a lot of stakeholder consultations. Late last year, we finalized the draft document, the draft technical document, and this was given to the Attorney General's Department. Last month, they've submitted to us the final draft law. We are preparing the cabinet memo. This should go to cabinet, and once cabinet approves it, we'll then send it to Parliament for the processing and enactment of the bill.
And you think that this is the answer to our infrastructure challenge?
Yes, we have to give it a shot. I mean, I think this makes it more efficient for us because this will be well maintained as opposed to what we have now with the public sector maintenance culture, which at times we all have problems with on our roads and all that. So we are hoping that with the private sector coming in, we'll have more efficiency and to be more effective.
She said the public-private partnership bill could become law by the end of the year.
Renowned banker and president of UT Holdings, Prince Kofi Amwabeng, has cautioned government to manage its expectations with regards to the revenue that will accrue to the state from the controversial 17.5% VAT on financial services. He explains that once the financial institutions begin to collect VAT, they are allowed by law to net off the VAT they pay, leaving government with only the remainder, which may not be much.
First and foremost, the country needs revenue, and unfortunately we don't have the structures that will let people be taxed directly, so the government tends to apply taxes that like indirect taxes to be able to raise money. The financial sector, unfortunately, is seen by most people as a sector that is making too much money, but this is rather false. But in any case, the government says he wants to tax the banks, and that is what it is. Now, I think first and foremost, the important thing is how the communication is done, because it affects almost everybody. And almost all the time, I think we don't couch the communication right for people to understand, and we also don't educate them well. The effect of this tax is actually not supposed to be borne in the main by customers of the banks, because first and foremost, the banks now become VIT agents, in the sense that if you are a registered VIT merchant, it means you receive VAT and pay out VAT. So you receive VAT and pay out VAT. Before this policy, banks paid VAT with no refund. Now, what I personally see is that it means we become VAT agents, therefore we will offset whatever VAT we're supposed to be paying with what is coming in. I think the net effect should be in the maybe around 3% plus or minus 1%, so that the full 70% effects would not be borne by anybody. Because we collect government VAT, and then we have to pay the government VAT, and therefore the difference is what we will pay the government.
Well, that's all for business. Showbiz comes up next.
The second season of Adom TV's comedy talent show, Sre Kwakwa, has ended, with Ajara emerging the ultimate winner.
The grand finale of Sre Kwakwa opened with a performance from award-winning hip live artist Joey B.
Nice shit, me up. You better do nice flip up. Freeze, baby, cheese. Your body, you better bump the set. By the way, I frost sample. First time they can't say me shout.
The contestants then began their fierce battle for the ultimate Sre Kwakwa crown.
रोते रोते हंसना सीखो हंसते हंसते रोना रोते रोते हंसना सीखो
सीखो
A person who can latest one to go who not done for one at Hey Monica. Hey Monica. Hey Mama what dream you? Hey Monica. Hey so say don't wire first of what before or they today. Yesu. Yo youth, Madam was say, my shadow said, let me buy the tomb for. I was a bishop, say, my emerald to me correct tie. And Chenama woo, Timam from a foot to a yamwa, a bayet than a kakra. Kakra make a chamber says, oh, be canwa, Miss Ralph Bompire. Now I will see what umpire Bomano son and sat now a canon.
Now, the moment everybody has been waiting for.
The new champion for Srekwakwa Season 2, organized by Multimedia, Abdul TV, Nidini, Acha. The champion.
Both the organizers and
The Alliance Francaise, in partnership with the Colombian Embassy, hosted one of the most influential Colombian salsa orchestras, LA33, over the weekend at the Trade Fair Center in Accra. Patrons did not only get a chance to listen to the music, they also practiced their salsa steps.
Salsa lovers all over Ghana and some Colombians living in Ghana were thrilled to good salsa tunes by La 33, a hard swinging salsa and Latin jazz from Bogota with 60,000 albums sold and nearly 2,000 presentations in 5 continents over a decade. La 33 has made Colombian salsa a reference and a new experience. Known as the Rockers of Salsa due to their combination of true swing and saber of the classic salsa orchestra with true rock and roll attitude, they got the patrons moving rhythmically to their energetic tunes.
And that'll be all for Showbiz. Before we go a quick look at our top stories, communities situated downstream the Wager Dam have been advised to relocate as more water is likely to be spilled from the dam. Inflation for May increases marginally to 14.8%. Government has been cautioned to manage its expectations regarding the revenue likely to improve from the controversial 17.5% VAT on financial services. And VRA launches 2 books it says should promote the enormous tourism potential of the Volta Lake. That's it. My name is Sujana. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.